Hello and welcome everyone, this is Dmitry and we are having another stream about network programmability. Today is 21st stream of this series, not counting some other projects that we were doing on the stream before. So today we are going to write a web application to interact with network devices. I'm really excited about this. I'm pretty sure this will not be the only stream about this. There are so many things to cover that I think it will take maybe 5, maybe 10 streams even. I have no idea. So I'm really excited to start. I don't think we are going to have every single stream. I don't think all of the streams about the web application will be in sequence. So I think like we will mix different things and so on, so that it doesn't become too boring. So we will have a couple of streams about this and jump to some other topics and come back to building a web application. This is what I have in mind. Without further ado, let's start with discussing this week's news and announcements. There are not many. So I'm continuing my JavaScript journey. So as I told before, I feel like I'm pretty confident with Python. I have been programming in Python for more than 6 years now. So that part is, I feel confident with applying Python to my tasks. With JavaScript though, the things are not so great. Every so often I have to build a web application here and there, and every so often I also need to use JavaScript, and I usually just was learning just enough to get done what I had to do. So this time I started learning JavaScript more seriously and dedicating a lot of time and effort into it, mainly because I realized that a lot of my projects at work actually require some kind of JavaScript experience to build a proper application the way I want it to look, not some 15-year-old web application, So this is a reality. I have to learn JavaScript now. I have been learning JavaScript now for I think around 2 or 3 weeks. I think 2.5, something like this. So just a quick update on this, because it's partially related to today's topic, but partially not. But I still feel like this section is a good time to discuss where am I and what is going on in my life from technical perspective. So this week I learned mostly about DOM manipulation. So when we had the stream last week, I told you that I was feeling pretty confident with JavaScript basics, with syntax and structures and functions and arrays and objects, all that. So this week I've dedicated mostly to learning how to apply JavaScript directly to the web application, to do what is called DOM manipulation. So I always forget what DOM stands for, but basically any website, the way browser works, it parses HTML and builds what is called DOM. This is basically a tree of all of the tags, all of the objects present on HTML page. So you have this tree which starts with like bodies, and you have a couple of div. In every div you may have some different elements and so on and so forth. So this tree is called DOM. And using JavaScript, you can actually try to find some element on the web page and change its content or how it behaves to different events. So let's say you are clicking on the button or something like this, and then something happens. So this is basically DOM and DOM manipulation. So I was learning how you can use JavaScript to do it. Previously, I had actually a project where I had to do that. With with just plain JavaScript, it's actually not so pleasant to do. So if you have ever written JavaScript application without any framework, you will know what I mean. We'll discuss actually frameworks in just a moment when we'll start actually today's topic, but it's a lot of pain. The code is ugly, a lot of spaghetti code, mainly because just interacting with these objects from JavaScript is not so simple. Well, it is not hard, but it's actually not so beautiful, and especially hard. What is especially hard is to update the state. So whenever you have, let's say, some kind of API on the backend and you're pulling some data, probably you don't want to reload the page and you want to use JavaScript to be able to update the page dynamically. The problem is that you have to rebuild every so often. You have to rebuild your whole or part of the DOM tree to be in sync with what is going on with your data, and that actually re-rendering part is not cool. Well, I have, well, in this script in this course that I'm doing, I was actually doing it. It's doable, but it's not pretty. Let's put it this way. There are a couple of questions. Let me see if there is something I should address. List of interfaces, toggle switches, enable and disable. Oh, this web should be API on it, and you can write in JS UI if you want. Yeah, we will discuss in details what we are going to do today later. But yeah, something from this is something that I had in mind. Yeah. So yeah, I learned DOM manipulation this week with JavaScript. It's doable. It's not pretty, especially syncing doing synchronization between your data and DOM is just ugly. And the more objects you have, the harder it becomes. And also your code, your JavaScript code, if you go that way, it will be full of HTML. So it's kind of like almost PHP like. Basically, you will have in your JavaScript a lot of HTML code or stuff like that. Not pretty. Okay. So meanwhile, while I was learning those JavaScript basics, I also started another course, which is about the frameworks that I chose for all of my future work in JavaScript, which is Vue JS. And I have started learning Vue JS maybe like 2 days ago, 3 days ago. So I maybe passed through a couple of sections, and I must admit it feels pretty great. So I understand now why people in JS won't use frameworks like this. It's pretty damn cool. Even though I still don't like JavaScript, I feel Python is much better dynamic language and much prettier and nicer. I really appreciate how this framework is built, Vue.js. I'm going actually to give you like a sneak peek of what I have been doing just for this course. I don't think we are going to apply Vue.js today, maybe like in a couple of streams. So, but I still think it's pretty goddamn cool. So if you are also interested in learning JavaScript, those are I listed on the right 2 courses that I am using right now. So one of them is just about JavaScript and then another one about Vue.js. Both of them I can recommend. They're really great. A lot of exercises. I'm doing a lot of hands-on. So pretty cool. So one of them is called the Modern JavaScript Bootcamp. Another one is Vue.js to the Complete Guide. Okay, so another one, there is also this really great article that I read yesterday, which is called Modern JavaScript Explained for Dinosaurs. So you can find it easily on Google. It talks about how JavaScript has changed and evolved over the years, and what are the new tools that are used right now in the modern JavaScript development. It's not really talking about the frameworks, it's talking about tooling. So yeah, and the last news / announcement is that next week the stream will be on Saturday, not Sunday, because on Sunday I'm leaving for Las Vegas. So just letting you know, guys, next week Saturday at the same time. Okay. There is a question in the chat. Dmitry, is there any plan or schema within you will keep moving? Kind of. Yeah. I have some agenda in mind. I don't know how much I will be able to finish today, but we'll see. So yeah, I'm going to share it with you guys in a moment. So yeah, so let's actually get started. The idea for today and a number of streams in the future will be to write a Django web application to interact with network devices. Okay, so what I had in mind is what we kind of discussed last time, is to be able to display let's say interfaces from some network device and to be able to shut and not shut them. This will be like the first step. Okay, so you take either router or switch, you go to the web page, you see an interfaces of the device, and there is a button like shut down or no shutdown. So this is what I have in mind for today. I don't know if we are going to cover everything today, but yeah, that's the plan. So there are a couple of topics that I have to cover before we are going to actually write code. I think it will take some time, maybe like 20 minutes or so, but I feel it's extremely important because I realize that a lot of network engineers are actually, well, they're not software developers, they're not web developers as well. So I would like to kind of like cover first, why would you want to do that in the first place? Okay, and second, how the whole web application development has changed over the years, because what we are going to do today is kind of like 10 years old ish. It still will get the job done, but it will not be the way how you build the modern web applications. The reason why that I can't just go into the latest and greatest, because a lot of people will get lost. First, second, I don't have enough exposure myself to use the latest technologies today, so it will also take a bunch of time. And the range of skills that you need to have to be able to write a modern application is much bigger, much wider than for some older techniques. So you would need to know a backend web framework extremely well. You need to know CSS kind of, CSS, HTML kind of, but you also need to have very solid knowledge of JavaScript. Most likely some modern UI framework like Vue JS or React or Angular. Plus, on the backend side, you need to know how to build API with your framework. So it's kind of like a little bit different than just, let's say, using Django. You need to use some specific thing to be able to build an API. It's just a little bit different. So that part. Plus, when we are talking about interacting with network devices, there is one very important thing that changes the way you develop web app. Is mostly when you interact with network devices via SSH or netcont, whatever, it actually takes some time. It doesn't do it like this, okay? It doesn't take half a second to do this. It takes 5 seconds. In modern applications, you would want to do that in the background. You would want to return the web page back to the user, then in the background something is happening, and then using tasks and queues, you actually submit a job to a queue. It's being processed in the background, kind of, and then from the front end you actually pull the status of the task and you update your web page. So this is how we would do it today. And in order to be able to do this, okay, to modern web app like this, especially for like these tasks that take a lot of time, you would need to know HTML, CSS, Django REST Framework. You need to know how to use Celery, how to spin up Redis or RabbitMQ. You need to know JavaScript. You need to know JavaScript UI framework like Vue JS or React or Angular. And you also need to know how to use JavaScript to as a HTTP client to do asynchronous AJAX calls. So it's almost like 10 fingers, maybe a little bit less. You can't just like go through Python basics course and then do this modern web app. It just doesn't work this way. Okay, so this is not what we are going to do today, but I think at some point we will actually cover that. Okay, so with that said, I still haven't covered why would you want to build a web app in the first place for interacting with network devices. And guys, also let me know what you think. Maybe you also have some kind of perspective on all of this. I'm really curious what other people think about this topic. So here is my perspective. Why would you want to do that? Here's the thing. You can build CLI based Python application, okay, which does something, okay. I don't know, it deploys day zero config, or it goes ahead and shuts down some interface, or it pulls the interface statistics or whatever. Cool. Since you were the developer, you can figure out how to use this. Now, what about other people using that? Okay, so even your colleagues, network engineers. Okay, so today it's a little bit easier, so you could use something like Docker to build a container with your application, and then just tell them, okay, you just have to run this run command. Well, first you have to install Docker and Docker Compose most likely, and then you run this run command, and then it will do what you need. Okay. However, even that part can be kind of tricky. Like, people may have like Windows machines where Docker still can be run, but there are some restrictions and so on. This is the first thing. So you would need to teach them how to use Docker, for example, or how to install and use it, right? So this is the first thing. Second thing, second disadvantage is that people who are even less experienced with CLI will not be able to do even that. Okay. What you can do instead, you can build your app, put it on the web server. It can be internal in your company, it can be external. It depends on what you want to do, right? And then anyone can just go ahead, see very simple UI with couple of buttons or whatever you need to do, right? And just click that button. You don't need to know how Docker works, how to install Python, how any of that. Okay, so the entry point for using your application becomes much lower. So this is the first thing. Second thing, building. Every so often you would like to see something. right? You would like to see, for example, a list of current interfaces, okay, so that you can choose which one you would like to shut down, right? Stuff like that, where you actually would like to have some kind of feedback. It's not like just one way, you push some arguments and it just does something, okay? You would like also to have some kind of feedback and to consume the data from the networking devices. So you would need to build some kind of GUI. It can be either web, or you can just build a standalone application, but I wouldn't really advise you to do that. So another thing, like building a web app is relatively easy. It's not super easy, but it's relatively easy, and everyone knows how to use a browser. So a really great way to consume some data from network device, and then maybe make some decision based on the data that you see, right? So for example, you fetch a list of interfaces, you list all of them in a table or just a list with a button, right? So super easy. Instead of having a bunch of command line arguments for your applications, right? Where it becomes like, you have to be able to run your app, you have to use 5 different CLI arguments, just not so user-friendly, So those are the main reasons I feel like why would you want to use web. It's just user-friendly. Everyone knows how to use web. And you can build a simple web app which does exactly what you need in your case. So maybe you would like to just provision a user, right? And you build like very similar script on the backend, which just goes to different network devices to like access layer switches, changes VLAN there, it goes to, I don't know, firewall, opens some ports there, whatever, right? And you just hide all of this complexity behind a simple web page where there is a form with one field, like, or maybe 2 fields, like username and something else, right? Username and maybe group of the user, something like this, right? Also, with modern frameworks, you can easily build like authentication using LDAP, for example. So you can go to web page, you can see a form with your username and password, and you can even build it without storing those username and passwords, and whenever user submits those username and password, it goes to LDAPs, checks, informs back, creates a session, and returns the session to the user. So you can do even that. So in my case, I have a couple of web applications that I built inside my company, and where whenever user submits credentials, they are checked on our single sign-on page, and then basically you get an internal cookie, and with that cookie you can do whatever you want. I don't even store username password anywhere, right? I do all of the checks directly on the backend. You can even build something like, if you have a single sign-on page in your company, you can do even that, where person goes to your web page, he's redirected to your single sign-on page. He enters credential there, it gets a cookie, and then you're creating a session in your web app. You can even do that, which is, I think, pretty goddamn cool. There is some comment in the chat. Let me see if I can address it. So if you know only CSS, HTML, Python, no reason to watch a stream. Well, of course there is a reason to watch a stream. Maybe I can teach you how I would do it, right? Agreed. I don't think a lot of people understand that many network engineers spend a lot of time understanding the network, different devices, so as a little sysadmin, it's a lot on its own. Many network engineers realize they should automate, but like you said, to do it in a very modern way, it's a lot of technologies and very different skill sets than network engineers. I absolutely agree with you. So this is what you just guys said is the main reason why today's stream will be focused on older approaches, let's put it this way. so that if you, let's say, know some Python, a little bit of CSS and HTML, let's say you don't really know JavaScript and all of this queuing system, all of that stuff, I will show you how you can build some web application even using just that knowledge. Okay, so this is the main reason why I don't go, okay, let's use all of the latest and greatest stuff, mainly because it just requires completely different skill set. Okay, so this was kind of explanation why would you want to do that. So now there will be section, maybe, I don't know, 15-20 minutes, where I will be discussing how web development has changed over the years, and how, in particular, applying to this problem that we are trying to solve, right? So we decided that, okay, we want to have some kind of some kind of web application which interacts with network devices. Okay, so how we can use different technologies, how different technologies that came into existence over the years can be applicable to our problem. Okay, so let's let me see. Just before the stream, I was trying to make sure my my graphic tablet was working. So let's see if it does. Okay, I think it does. So in the very early days of web. Oh, and by the way, whatever I say today on the stream, I would also encourage you today to take it with a grain of salt, mainly because I'm not a web developer by trade. So it may happen that I say something which is not actually true, mainly because I do not know the full picture. I haven't been doing this for like 10 years or so. Okay, so I have been building web apps here and there, but they were simple, so I may not know the whole story. So I wouldn't like rely 100% on what I'm about to say during the stream. But this is at least my perspective, my understanding of it. Okay, so in the very early days, basically most web pages were just HTML pages. Okay, and I do hope that if you have any if you are doing any kind of network engineering or you're in IT in general, you know how HTML page looks like. I really hope so. So you know what are tags and so on and so forth, because well, we are not going to do HTML basics today. Okay, but basically in HTML you have tags where you kind of like, it's a markup language where you define elements on the web page, like body and so on. This is so horrible, but yeah, my drawing is always horrible. Yeah. Yeah. So you have a bunch of tags. If you don't know, if you actually haven't seen HTML page before, it's very easy to do. You go to any web page, you right click and say view page source, and you will see the whole HTML. This is actually a bad example because Medium is using 100% web framework, so you will actually not see a lot. So maybe on I think on the GitHub you will be able to see it. Yeah, so something like this. Bunch of tags which are describing the elements on the web page. So then also at some point there were what is called CSS, right? And CSS can be directly in HTML page or can be separately. And CSS is basically describing how the data should look like. So basically you kind of like assigning colors, and you can assign the position on the web page, you can assign the how close this element should be from another element and so on. So this is usually information is stored in CSS. So by modifying CSS is how you can make your web page prettier. Okay. So you can also find CSS. Usually you go to the HTML code for the web page, and at the very top you will see like style sheet. You click on link. Okay, this CSS is actually very small. Maybe this second one. Oh, actually they are small, but they are just one big line here. By the way, the main reason on a lot of pages you will see something like this is because the idea was to minify all of the files. So because now we use more code, more JavaScript, and more CSS, and all of that crap. Sorry, crap, not crap. It's just what makes our web more prettier, right? It grows in size, and the more size it is, the harder it is to, well, the more time it takes to load the web page, and it's extremely important on something like mobile devices, where every so often you don't have 4G connection. You may have some fallback to 2G, and there were a lot of research like how much the loading time affects if the user will stay on the web page or not. So people don't like wait long for a web page to load. So that's the reason why files like CSS, JavaScript, and HTML as well, they are minified so that everything is as compact as possible. Let me try to find some other CSS which may be not modified. I think on my blog it's not. So let me double check. Web font. Nope. CSS font awesome. Okay, main CSS. Yeah. So this is something like this. Basically, for different elements, you can specify, I don't know, their size, how they look like, and so on and so forth. Okay, so you also have JavaScript, JS, and JavaScript is what is responsible for a lot of stuff. So basically, whenever you have some kind of button or drop down, for example, let's go to GitHub. So for example, there is this tab on the there is this nav bar on the top, right? If you click on the error, there is this new thing popping up, right? New menu. So pop-ups, behavior, like for example, I click on issues here, right? Actually it's changing, but oh, okay, maybe I put something here in the filter. Test. So whenever I put something in the filter, actually JavaScript is invoked. Whenever I click on some drop down, it's all JavaScript based. This menu is also JavaScript. If I click on dismiss, it disappears from the web page, but the page is not reloaded. So all of this is JavaScript. So JavaScript is responsible, it's actual code, right, which is responsible for making your elements more interactive. Okay, so this was kind of like in early days. Now this is what users could see. This is why all of this part is called front end, and you may hear front end web development. Front end. There is also a backend part. So usually you would like to receive some kind of data from the server or database or whatever. So you have backend. So from front end, let's say here there is a client. Here you have a server. Usually you send what is called HTTP request. So let's say you say get / which is the root of your website. So what server is responsible for doing, it is responsible for giving you a web page back. It is responsible for giving you HTML back. Because in HTML you actually define links to CSS, you define links to JS, so the server is just responsible for giving you HTML page back. So this process from getting the slash to giving you a web page in return is job of the backend developer and backend framework. So you send let's say index HTML or something. Okay. Usually you also have something like that database. Okay, so depending on again your application, in our case I don't think we will have a database for our purposes, but usually you have some kind of data storage. Okay, maybe with your usernames, and in case of GitHub you have usernames, you have groups, you have repositories, you have an actual code of your repositories, so all of that is stored in database. So for example, if you go to /repositories, it's up to the server right here to go to database and fetch this information from the backend. Okay, now usually you can use different technologies here. You can use different languages even. You can use Python. Okay, and in Python there are two main web frameworks. There is Django and there is Flask. There are many more, but those are two the most popular. You can use Ruby. In Ruby there is Roar, Ruby on Rails. You can use PHP, and in PHP there is, I think, how it's called, Laravel or something like this. I don't remember. I don't like PHP. You can even use JS with Node.js. There, so you can use JavaScript both on front end and back end if you want to. So stuff like this. In very simple case, you may not even have this. You may not even have a programming language. You can serve what is called static web pages. So static web page is already rendered page for what is user requests. For example, my blog is static. It doesn't have any kind of Python on the backend. So whenever you go to page like /blog or /presentations, those are already rendered HTML pages on the backend. I'm using what is called static web page generator for this blog, where I can write all of my content in Markdown and it transforms this to HTML. But still, like, I don't have any kind of programming language on the backend really, because I serve static web pages. I just serve HTML. So when you don't have anything like this and you just serve static web pages, you use just a web server. You use either Apache or Nginx. And both of these can decrypt your SSL. Both of these can serve some static web page, or like, so static web page, HTML, it can serve JavaScript file, it can serve image, stuff like this. So those are done on the, like, using web server like Apache or Nginx. Usually those are actually an entity that are in front of your infrastructure. If you have an actual code that is doing some kind of backend stuff, I don't know, pulling into database or stuff like that, doing some kind of authentication, then Apache or Nginx is usually routing that to your, let's say, Django app. There is one layer in the middle, because there always is, right? So by default, like Apache or Nginx can just serve Python scripts or stuff like that. So usually in the middle you have a thing which can actually call Python app properly. Those are called what is called WSGI server, I think. So it's spelled WSGI. And for Python there are two most popular ones. One of them is called GUnicorn. And another one is called I forgot. I think UWSGI. How could I forget? Yeah, it's UWSGI. So there is either UWSGI or GUnicorn. So basically your request comes to Apache or Nginx. Then if it's not a static web page and it should be processed by like framework on the backend, you route this to your WSGI app, which is either GUnicorn or UWSGI, which invokes Django or Flask or whatever you have. There is a question: Flask and Django are responsible for keeping database, giving answers to frontend. No, not exactly. The responsibility of Flask or Django is to process an incoming request and give a response. So it can involve authentication, it can involve pulling from the database and so on and so forth. That said, pulling from database is really not always built into the framework. For example, with Flask, you can't just pull from the database. You need to use some kind of other library. For example, you would use SQL Alchemy, or you could use directly driver for your database. So I forgot the one for Postgres. Whatever. So you would need to use something else. In Django there is built-in layer which can interact with databases, so you don't need to do this in Django. So in general, the backend web framework is responsible for taking an incoming response, routing it to proper function or class, and then give you response back. So and these frameworks have been used, I think, for like 15 years, maybe 20 years now. I think like 15 is more appropriate. Whenever you use Django or Flask, what is going to happen is that we will just consider this layer because this is what we are going to be focused on today. Let's say you say /repo. You want to get a page from with the repositories from GitHub, okay? And let's say you were using the Python to do that, okay? So here you have your Django. What Django will be responsible for doing is talking to database where all of your information is stored, taking a response and forming HTML page and giving you HTML page. You render all information in the HTML usually using templates. Okay, so it's kind of like Django templating is not exactly Jinja, but it's very similar. So you would have your template for, let's say, index.html, where you have all of that HTML code, and then you have something like, if you have ever used Jinja, you would realize what that is. We'll say for I don't know, for a repo in repositories, you know, I don't want to type everything, and then here you create, let's say, HTML tag li which is for lists, where you say, let's say, I don't know, h1 a repo.title, let's say repo.title, and so on and so forth. So Django will pass the data through this template, and it will build HTML page, and it will return it to a user. So this is how web development kind of was done around 15 years ago, from 10 to 15 years ago. And I think this is what we are going to do today, because this is the simplest case. In our case, we will not have database, we will just have a network devices. So we will go to network devices and fetch some data. Okay, so this is our router. Okay. So what has changed? Well, or what we can change? And what is wrong with this approach? So, a couple of things. Especially in our case, this interaction with network device will take more than 5 seconds. And users do not like to wait for 5 seconds for web page to load. And this is just interaction with network device, and it will take a couple of, I don't know, like 100 milliseconds to build it, and then you have to return it, so there's still network involved, blah blah blah. So it will take some time. Okay. This is the first thing. Second thing, we may want to use different technologies on the front end, or we maybe would like to expose some kind of service so that if you don't care about web, you can still use this web application to serve some data. So this is what is called, well, API, basically, REST API. So, and a lot of websites are doing that. So instead of getting a rendered HTML web page back, you have a JavaScript sitting on the client, which is doing API request to some website, getting the data and re-rendering this data on the front end. So, a couple of advantages of this approach. First, you can enable using your web service for machine-to-machine interaction. For example, you can expose, like GitHub, you would want to fetch repositories programmatically using Python script. Okay. By exposing API, you can do that. Second, you may want to make a decision that you don't like the current JavaScript framework or anything or something, and you can just change this framework. Your backend isn't changed because it just returns API data, raw data via API. So this is where there was a shift in paradigm where instead of rendering a HTML page on server side, there was a very simple HTML page given back, and then the client just is using API requests to interact with backend. So usually your Django app or whatever it is, it will have URLs starting with API and then, let's say, repositories, something like this. Well, if you do that, there are a couple of things that have to be changed. First, you have to, most likely, you will need to use some kind of API framework. In case of Django, it's called DRF, Django REST Framework, to be able to do that. So it will change a little. It will not change too much, but it will change a little how you build an app. In Django, it's actually pretty straightforward. It doesn't take long to learn DRF. So this is this is the main change on the backend. Now on the front end though, you have to introduce a lot of JavaScript. You have to introduce JavaScript. to be able to do this API calls to /API/repository, something like this. Yeah, so this is kind of like the first step. And by the way, rendering on client side is actually quite efficient because the devices that are rendering web pages, like our computers, browsers on the mobile phones, they actually have a lot of processing power, so we can offload a lot of rendering directly to that. So we don't need to render server-side HTML because it will be actually quite big, and so on and so forth. There are many more reasons why you would want to use API. For me personally, the main reason is that whenever I use some kind of web application, every so often I realize that how good it would be if I would be able to interact with this web server using my Python script, for example. So I don't know, for example, you have some kind of for example, vManage, okay? So this is something that just comes to my mind because I have been recently working on that. So vManage is, in Cisco SD-WAN solutions, there is this controller, right? Using which you interact with your whole network, okay? Maybe you would like to change your templates very, very efficiently without even someone going through the web GUI and clicking it. You want to build some kind of app that is doing that for you. In that case, you really would like to have an API. vManage provides an API, so you can actually go ahead and do that. But some services, when you're trying to interact with them, they don't. So what you end up doing on the front end is using a library to parse HTML, like Beautiful Soap, finding an element that you need to, and then doing manual post. Super inefficient. Using API is just so much better. So, well, basically if you do this, if you expose endpoint via APIs, then you have to do some additional work on the front end. And here are the options. So JS on the front end, you may use vanilla JS. So this is just JS exposed via browser without any external frameworks or stuff like that. It's just called this way, just basically just simple JavaScript that is exposed via Chrome or Firefox or whatever. You can build it, this part, you can do API, plus you have to do re-rendering of the web page yourself. And keeping it in sync, it's actually pretty painful to do. Then around, I think 10 years ago, the framework that was very popular is called jQuery. It was, it provided a little bit easier ways to handle API requests. And it had an easier way to select any element on the web page, but you would still kind of like interact with one element at a time. It has some other cool stuff like toggle classes where you can change CSS class very easily of the element, stuff like that. So this is how a lot of apps were done 10 years ago, up to 5 years ago, and I still find a lot of web apps built using jQuery. Now at some point, people realize that interacting with DOM directly is just stupid. Your JavaScript code becomes quite a mess. So this is the point where there were a lot of UI frameworks that appeared. The most popular ones, one of them is Angular. I haven't touched Angular at all. And now the latest two that are popular probably during the last 2 years, 1 year. One of them is called React. Another one is called Vue JS. So Vue JS is the one that I'm learning right now. So at least these two, I don't know about Angular, they create what is called virtual DOM. Where you define very declaratively what are the elements are in your web page and how and you have a binding between the data that you can receive from server, or it's just stored in some kind of JavaScript variable, and an actual element. And you have this binding, and then whenever the data changes, it automatically renders a part of the web page using the virtual DOM and two-way binding. So I will actually can show to you like how Vue JS looks like, and I think I will do it in a moment. So this is a kind of like the state of the art, kind of like using these frameworks. There are a couple other things that have to be done on the backend. Couple of other improvements, and it's especially relevant in our case with network devices. Remember that this is taking 5 seconds, okay? While your web framework is busy doing that, it is blocked, right? It is blocking operation. So you can't do anything else. So usually you spin up a couple of workers for your web app, I don't know, 10, 20, 50, whatever. So it means that you can concurrently handle 50, let's say, connections at the same time. Then usually people end up with some kind of limitation, and then they scale number of servers, they put load balancer in front, and then this load balancer selects a server and instance of the app where this request should be handled, and usually scaled horizontally if you kind of hit a limitation. But still, like, this operation is just quite expensive, and you don't do anything during these 5 seconds while you go to network device and talk to it. So this is the point where you would want to use some kind of queue. The most popular one for Python is called Celery. And you would also, besides Celery framework, you would also need, and Celery workers, you would also need you would also need a queue. And for queue you can use either RabbitMQ, or you can use Redis. So I don't tend to use Redis, so this is yet another instance on the backend that you have to spin up. Plus you have to spin up Celery workers to do your tasks. And what the Celery is doing, it's creating a task, puts it on the queue. When it's time for this task to be processed, it pops from the queue, it's fed to Celery worker. By the way, when you put the task on the queue, you get a task ID, so that you can actually return this back to the client. You can return task ID and then have client to ask for the status of the task. So Celery is a very big improvement. Whenever you have any kind of expensive operations that take some time, you have to use Celery. Those involves stuff besides like networking stuff, like I just explained. Those involve, let's say you need to send an email to user after he or she registered, so you would use Celery to do that. So yeah, stuff like that. Basically any kind of operation that is not done instantly have to be handled in the queue. So this is one improvement. You'd also need to expose, if you're using that, you would need to expose in your API, let's say task. You need to expose another endpoint which will be able to pull the status of the task. Okay, this is one thing. And there is one latest thing on the backend that is kind of popular, kind of hype-ish right now, but I think the technology is actually pretty cool. It's called GraphQL. GraphQL. And the idea behind GraphQL, it's replacing your API-based thing. So you had, let's say, API repositories. So you discard that, and you have one endpoint called GraphQL. And client is supposed to send to you a special request indicating what exact data is needed. I do not remember the format because I haven't really touched it yet, but you would do something like, you kind of like declaratively put what you need, and then if you have some kind of nested data, say owner, user, owner email or something, you kind of like indicate all levels of data that you would like to get. And the GraphQL thing is supposed to return exact data that you need. There are a couple of things why this is kind of became popular. First, different clients can request different data. They need different data. So you can easily filter exact fields that you need. But the more important reason is actually different, is sometimes different database tables are coupled together very, very tightly. So maybe, I can't think of an example now, but maybe you have, let's say, deals, and you have account, and you have a person who is working on the deal, something like this, like account manager or something. You have a table with all of your employees, you have a table with all of your accounts, and maybe you would like to say you would like to get closed deals, and you would like to have a name of account manager, and maybe you would like to have, I don't know, address of account manager, maybe name of the client or something like this. So you have a data that spans a lot of different tables, and app just needs that. So instead of building some kind of extended view of the endpoint for your deals, you would just use this GraphQL, and on the backend you are supposed to figure out exact tables that you have to query to get the data required. So I think that's pretty much it from like kind of like brief overview of what is going on in the web right now. Oh, I think there is one other thing that I didn't cover. So when you use JS, there is some other tooling that is needed. So first of all, there are a lot of libraries already in JavaScript that can be installed, right? However, your browser doesn't install anything at runtime. You have to provide your file. So during development, you specify the modules that you have to use using statement like require in your JavaScript. And there is a tool called Webpack, which will scan all files for require statement, fetch the actual JavaScript code, and put it instead of require statement, so that it's part of the same file in when browser fetches this. So you have Webpack. You have you have what? You have minifiers. So you have I forgot at least one minifier, but I just forgot the names, where which takes JavaScript and CSS, for example, and compresses this to one big line. You have the scripts, so what I think they are called runners, task runners, that kind of simplify running Webpack and minifiers and all that stuff. Yeah, I think this is pretty much it. There is a lot of really stuff. So modern web development is extremely complex, unfortunately, but you know, this is what it is. What we are going to do today from all of this stack, we are going to use Django and just render HTML on server side. So tasks will take 5 seconds or so, but we'll just do it this way, because the second I introduce API based and Celery, then we have to do a lot of JavaScript on front end, and it will just take a lot of time. So maybe at some point in the future we will do that. Okay, cool. So do you guys have any questions? I know it took a lot of time, but I think from my perspective, it's important that I describe, like what are all these different things that web development is today. So I'm also going to show you one thing. So I told you at the beginning I could show to you how Vue JS, for example, looks like today. So here is one, this is from the course that I'm doing, one of the exercises. So this is an index.html page, and I have like different elements, and kind of very briefly, they are specified in very special syntax. Like there are here some special directives like on, where it says that if this button is clicked, I would like to run this JavaScript. Here I have a typical syntax for like templating, that I would like to render the counter. However, this is rendered on client side, not on server side. Then there is here an element which if you do key up event, this is where you unpress the button and your button is under either enter or space, you'll run this alert me function. You have here a V model which is bound to input, and whenever this name attribute in JavaScript changes, your any place where you have this name which is in this input, and here it will change. Okay, so it's like two-way binding. And so this HTML is rendered directly by Vue JS, which provides an end HTML that is displayed and rendered by a browser. And here's my code here, which I think is super declarative and super cool. It's not like spaghetti JavaScript. It's very, very succinct, I think. So for example, here in the data I have my variables, and then in, let's say, some methods I can increase counter, I can change XY position. Here's this function alert me that displays alert. Here is a counter which is reset after, let's say, 3 seconds or so. Here is computed property which takes one of these properties, checks if it's like greater than 5 and displays a message. So super declarative. So this is not like teaching you Vue, okay? This is just showing what it actually looks like today. So if I run my server for this course and I refresh it, here's how it looks like. There is no CSS. I didn't build any CSS for this, and I click, let's say, on this by increase by 2, and my counter here increases. You see also result changes when I had smaller than 5 and greater than 5. I have here increase by 1, decrease by 1. Here's the second counter, which is displayed here and here. And after 3 seconds it's reset to 0. I honestly think like it's very pleasant experience to actually program in framework like Vue JS, for example. Here's another one where I have coordinates, and you see that I changing my mouse and coordinates are updated dynamically on the web page. Here is a dead spot where coordinates are not updated at all, and then they're updated again. Here is a text field that is not doing anything, but if I click space or enter, I have an alert popping up. And here is the last one, is also pretty cool as well. So here I put some text, and it's automatically displayed in the all other places where this element is defined. So it's really really awesome from my perspective, even though I don't like JavaScript. So yeah, stuff like that. So yeah, I'm thinking of learning more about Vue and actually applying it to my projects. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so let's actually get started with building our Django web app. So let me, guys, let me know if you have any questions. Meanwhile, I will turn on the light here. Okay, let me stop this. Okay, I don't need this anymore. Okay, so let me go to my projects, my network programmability, public network programmability stream. Okay, so let's do. We need to name our app, and by the way, let me check if I have the latest version of Django. So pip3 install Django. I've been using Django for quite a while. It's also a very pleasant backend framework. They have so many cool features, and actually it's not hard. It's not super hard to learn. Django 2.1, perfect. By the way, since I'm talking about Django now, let me also give you some some tutorials that I found useful. So for Django, actually their tutorial on their official page is super cool. So there is, just if you Google Django tutorial, you will end up on their docs and writing your first Django app. And I think they have like 5 parts of this or so. If you go through this just tutorial and do exactly as they say, you will learn a lot, and you will be able to start building some simple web apps as well. It's not like this tutorial is like a week of work, I think. So Django, by the way, has super cool documentation, one of the best, I think, out there. Okay, so Django. There is another book about Django, 2 Scoops of Django, I think it's called. Yeah, this one. 2 Scoops of Django, also very popular one. So these 2 resources, I will start with tutorial because it's free, and I personally learned Django without any book. And I think they will re-release the book for either 2.0 or 2.1 very soon. So they try to update it with the latest version of Django. Okay, so this is how you learn Django. So you know what, I always forget all of this CLI because I don't create new Django projects all the time, so I will refer to tutorial quite a lot. So even though I feel quite confident with Django, so if I do Django admin, start project, and we have to name it. Let's say, and I think it should have underscores. Do you guys have any suggestions for naming? It's super painful to name anything. I don't know, net prog stream. Web Django. Nice. Okay. Cool. Okay. So let me open up my PyCharm here. Okay, I have to add to Poetry add Django as well. Am I using Python 3.7 here or Python 3.6? I'm interested why when I update Django all this stuff is getting updated too. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Okay, it will take some time. Okay, I also have to set up my interpreter. So interpreter. Okay, Poetry run Python. Okay, it's 3.7. Okay, good. Okay, good. So we have Django here. I'm thinking if we need any dev dependencies, and I think we do. Yeah, I think I would like to have IPython in dev and IPDB, my debuggers, Poetry at help. Minus dev. Okay, so Poetry at minus dev, IPython and IPDB. So those should be added here. Okay, cool. Cool. So Infectalid, hello. I'm doing well. What about you, sir? Okay, so Django, when we ran the Django admin, it created these files for us. It created the folder with the same name, which we are going to rename right now. Just have network stream. Okay. So, and there is manage py. So manage py is a script that is not doing a lot, but it sets correct correct file with the settings. So it specifies that my settings are stored in network stream.settings here. URLs is where how you can route different URLs to to different functions basically. Whiskey, it's used when you deploy, so right now it's not useful. Setting though, it will be quite useful. So settings, let me walk you through settings. So this is a directory where your which is the root of your project. Basically, it just says that it's one level up. There's secret key, which you're supposed to keep secret, but for the stream it doesn't matter. You have debug argument. If it's true, then you will see a traceback from a running when you have any problems. Usually you don't want to show tracebacks to users, and it may have some sensitive data in there as well, so never use debug true on production. For allowed host, you have to specify if you want Django to be served on some URLs or something. So I don't know, your URL is stream.dmfigl.me. Oh, that's actually a good idea. I actually have to have stream.dmfigl.me that is leading to my Twitch page. So you would have to specify here like your hosts that you're serving. The same applies, I think, for localhost as well. So be aware of that. So install apps. Those are default apps that are installed. Usually you may want to remove some of those if you don't need them. Django provides out of the box a very useful admin page where you don't have to do anything, but you can just go to /admin and to explore your database, which I think pretty cool, and add some things there. Middleware, I have been using middleware for some of my projects. Basically, middleware is something that sits in between the incoming request and your code that is processing this request. For example, you can check if the user was authenticated there. If it's not, you should send him to like your, I don't know, you should send him to single sign-on page or something like this. So where middleware can be used. Root URL conf, this is just referring to this url.conf file. And templates, I don't think I have ever used templates before. It's basically saying that, okay, I'm using Django template system, but you can, I think, also use some other templating system. And here is a database. By default, the SQLite is used, so you don't need to spin up, I don't know, Postgres or something else. You can just use SQLite for your development, but obviously for production you have to change this. Password validator, I haven't used it before. Static URL, this is where you put your static content like images, for example, and stuff like that. CSS, JavaScript images, I have been using that. So usually when you deploy your app to production, you have to have another variable database, which is referring to your database database URL, username and password. You also have to change debug true, and you usually have to change secret key. There are a couple of ways to do it. You can create a new settings file. You can use libraries like Python decouple, where you will store the settings in the .env file, and then you will just have different .env files locally or in production. I tend to use Python decouple. This is my de facto choice for a lot of secrets. So yeah, this is basically template for Django. So I'm thinking, well, first of all, we have to kind of like, no, let me cover one additional thing. So there is one concept in Django, there is only one concept in Django that I don't like, but it's very crucial to their architecture. It's called Django app. So if you have your I'm thinking how to call, I remember it. This is called Django project, and Django project must have one or more apps, and basically this is their idea for abstracting and separating part of your web project in kind of like different isolated things. And this is, I think, something that a lot of newbies find confusing in Django, and I personally don't really like their mandate to use Django apps. So you can't avoid using apps, so you need to have at least one app. And sometimes it's just confusing. Like I know that my application is so coupled between all of this different stuff, and it's already not reusable. I don't want to care about these Django apps, blah blah blah. I want just to write my code, right? Unfortunately, in this piece you have to accept the ideology of Django, and you have to create app in this case. And they say, oh, it should be like isolated or something, but not all of them are. Like there may be a lot of coupling between different apps, and ideologically is not correct, but this is what you need in your app. So I don't know. So those are my feelings about apps. That said, the whole concept of apps also kind of helps, because you can find a lot of apps already published somewhere on the web, which you can just install and use. For example, Django REST Framework. You install it with pip install Django REST Framework, and then in the settings file here, you put here Django REST Framework, and that's done. You already can use Django REST Framework. So like super simple. So sometimes it gives a lot of benefits, but also sometimes I just feel it annoying, and it's just this higher entry threshold. Okay, good. So we have to create an app. Everything in Django should be in an app. So let's go ahead and create app. And again, naming. I have no idea how to name this app now, considering that I have netproc stream. I don't know, I will just call it network, I guess. I don't know. So let's do poetry run Django. Let me find how to create an app. I always forget. Manage.py run server polls up. Python manage.py startup polls. Okay, so poetry run, because I want to be in my virtual environment that is created using poetry. So poetry run Python manage.py startup network. I don't know. I will just call it network. What is, oh, okay, I am not in the correct folder. So netproc stream Django. And let me run this again. Something didn't work out so well, did it? No module named Django. What do you mean? Just no. What is going on here? No module named Django. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Poetry help. Okay, let me pull up poetry. I remember that I was installing poetry at Poetry add. I think poetry add Django. Django is already present. But if I run poetry run Python and I say import Django, what is going on here? So team of Max1 is asking me to repeat briefly what I'm doing. So yeah, I have created a Django project. Now I'm creating a Django app because it's basically everything in Django must be in at least one app. So I'm creating an app and I'm having some problem here with poetry. That is unfortunate, but I'm going to fix it, though I'm not going to like how I'm going to fix it though. So this is how I'm going to do it. I'm done with this. With pipenv and stuff like this, poetry, I don't know what is going on, but I don't care anymore. So this is what I'm going to do. So I'm Python 3 minus m venv.venv. I'm just going to do it old-fashioned way because all the tools are failing me, so I am done troubleshooting them. So source venv bin activate, and now I have to reinstall a bunch of modules here. I will also have let's do requirements dev minus r requirements txt, and I also need to install IPython. I can install Black and I can install IPDB. And I also need MyPy. Okay, let's do it. So source bin activate. So pip install upip to upgrade pip. And now pip install minus r requirements dev txt. Damn it. Yeah. I created it in the wrong level. Okay, Python 3. Deactivate. Okay, so let's do it again. Python 3 minus m venv.venv. Okay, so Python 3 minus, okay, this works. So source venv bin activate, pip install upip to upgrade pip. Now pip install minus r requirements dev txt. Okay, this will take a while. Okay, let me close this. I will need to use tutorial if I will forget some stuff. We'll need to create an app, and I will need to create URLs, kind of like this. this takes forever. Okay, good. We are good to go, I think. So let's check this. So Python import Django. Okay, this works perfect. So now I can say Python manage dot. Oh no, I have to go to appropriate folder. So net prog stream, and here I can say Python manage.py start up, and I will call it network. Okay, so I created an app called network. Let's see how our directory structure has changed. Now we see here we have this app called network, which has admin, apps, models, tests, and views. So models this is where you describe your database really. Tests are for tests, views are actual functions that take request and return response. Apps already pre-populated. Admin, this is where you register models from your models file to be displayed in Django admin. There's one file that is missing for some reason, and I don't know why it's not included by default, which is urls.py. This is a router. So this network stream URLs is a like top level router for your URLs, and then you are supposed to route those in the different apps. So by default I have admin already here. I need one additional thing. I need to do include, and I have to say that path anything else is routed directly to the include, and I forgot the syntax. Include polls.url, right. So this will be routed to network URLs. Okay, done. Okay, so basically we are saying anything that anything else than admin goes to network.urls, so it goes to here. Now here we have to copy paste a little bit. I don't need include, I don't need this, but here we need to specify. Here I actually thinking that we may actually have database. Let's have a database. So in my lab right now I have two CSRs. I have two CSRs. Let me bring those up. So this is my lab server, Sapphire, and I also have two CSRs, CSR dev, and I have CSR3. So they have different IP addresses, but I decided that it would be good to have those. So we can actually create, I think, a model just for those CSRs, for their names, and kind of like information like IP addresses and stuff like this. I'm thinking, why not? You know, we may actually do that. Makes sense to me. So let's go ahead and do this. This will be done is in the models, and I always forget all of this stuff. I always refer to docs. So let me try to find if I will be able to do it. So here, Django models, I will copy this directly from the tutorial and we'll change a little bit. So our class will be called, well, we can either call it hosts or device. I'm thinking we should call it, I think we can call it host, why not? And this will be models.model. And here we are creating a fields in our database. So we need a couple. We need definitely, I'm thinking if we should have a name. I think we would like to have a name. This will be models char field. and I think it can be empty. No, it should not be empty, it should be required. So max length, well, let's have 100 symbols. So this is a name. Now we have a host itself, and host is going to be models char field as well, and this is kind of like connection information. This can be this will be even short, let's say 50 symbols. No, let's add a little bit more, like at least 70. Okay, so now we have username. Well, we have all of those are the same. So max length 100, and let's say username and password. Password though can be empty, so for empty fields I'll also forget the stuff. So there is blank and null. Blank, no, it's not here. Django blank versus null. When we add the database, we generally write null true, blank true. Null true sets null in the column. Blank values for Django fields such as, okay. Blank true determines whether the field will be required in forms. This includes admin. The exception is char field and text field, which is in Django I never have to know. Blank values are stored in the DB as an empty string. Okay, so we need, I think, blank true. Blank true. So for some reason we may not need the password. I don't know. Maybe it uses our maybe it uses like SSH key, so you don't need the password. So let me think. So we have a name, we have a host, we have username and password. Really, those are the only parameters that needed. Oh, well, there's one more, which is, no, I don't need to type. Maybe device. I would like to specify if it's a router or switch. You may also have like a vendor, for example, if you want to. You know what, I want to have this as device, and the field here will be so I will have device type. This also, I would like this to have a choice, Django choice field. Choice field, class choice field, default widget select, typed choice field, takes one extra argument. Okay, so model choice field, models choice field. Where is this field? Okay, choice field. I think I have to do one additional thing. I have to re-import this. Okay, choice field. Why it says it's not found? Okay, this is still updating. So choice field, and I will need choices, and it says choices either an iterable list or tuple or two tuples, blah blah blah. Okay, so we will have a router, switch, and firewall. We may also have platform. Let's actually have a platform, and this will be also choice, because right now we'll have only one platform, which is Cisco iOS, and let's also have Cisco ISXE. Okay. I'm curious why it can't find it. Choice field is here. Whatever. Okay, so we don't need this anymore. So this is our database structure. There is one additional thing that we have to do. If I want this to be shown in the admin panel, I have to register it here, but I forgot how to register. Django admin register. Add Django contrib admin to install apps. We have that. For dependencies, whatever. Register decorator. Okay. Okay, admin.site.register, and you have to import the model. So we have from models import device, and here I have to register. So admin site register, and I register device. I think this is pretty much it here. So yeah, this one looks good. URLs is routing admin / perfect. I want also to have one additional thing. So in views I want to create, let me quickly find the tutorial. Writing your app. Okay. So hello world, start project, development server, creating polls app, writing your first Vue dev request. Okay, so I need this, dev index request, parameter is not used. Okay, I need to import Django HTTP response, and let's say this will be h1. Hello everyone, hello stream. Okay, and this will be like this. Let's also do types, HTTP response. In Django request object I forgot. Django request object. Django HTTP request. From Django HTTP import request. So this will be request. Actually no. This will be HTTP request. This will be HTTP request. Okay, good. So we have our first view. We don't route it, but I think we should. So here we need to specify that network URL / empty will be routed to views.index. Okay, so views.index from dot import views. Okay, good. So I think we are good to go here. Let me see if there are any questions. No, there are no questions. Okay, good. So we are ready to start. First, we have to create we have to create SQL for our database, and then we actually have to apply this SQL to database. This is done using Django Python manage.py make migrations. This doesn't look good. Why it says no changes detected? Oh. Did I not save this? Oh, I know why. Right, I haven't registered my network app yet. So this should be done in settings, installed apps. Here it should be network. So make migrations. Django DB models has no attribute choice field. Okay. Error set 84. Thank you for following. So what is wrong here? Form field. Oh, this is form field. Yeah, about that. Oh yeah, okay, so I have to do with different, so it's a char field with the choices. Okay. So I'm creating a simple Django web application to be able to pull some data from network devices like routers and switches, and I hope to also create a button like to shut down interface or not shut. So something pretty straightforward actually. Okay, so choice field. Okay, this is incorrect, so this should be char, but choices should be left. Let's say this will be what, 30 symbols. And I don't necessarily have to this can be blank true. Blank true. Okay, so I think we're good to go here. So let's try again. Make migrations. Choices must be an iterable containing tuples. It is a goddamn iterable. Errors device type. Choices must be an iterable containing actual value human read. Oh, right. Okay. Okay, so actual value human readable name value. So let's do something like this. Okay, and something like here. Okay, good. Let's try this again. Make migrations successful. So now we actually apply our SQL created. So SQL is created in the migrations folder, and if you click on this file, actually no. Did they change this a little bit? Seems like they changed this a little bit. Okay, so I think previously it was creating direct SQL, but now it's actually creating a class which is still kind of like Python code, which is then translated to SQL. So if I right now run Python manage py migrate, I will apply a lot of different stuff onto my database. So the most important one here is the session table. This stuff is for authentication for admin panel, and session is for session cookies. Okay, sorry, I haven't used Ruby really, so I can't comment on that. Okay, so, and basically whenever you change your model, you make migrations again. So it creates a new file and so on and so forth. So you actually have a whole history of the changes to the database. Okay, cool. So we are done here. There is one additional piece that I have to create a super user for the admin panel. And as I told you, I never forget all the syntax, so I will always look it up. So let's try to find it. Database admin. Python manage py create super user. So let's do this. So manage py create a super user, dmfigl, email address git at dmfigl.me, and password will be something stupid. Bypass password validation and create user anyway. Yes, perfect. So we have created a super user. So now we can actually run a server. So right now I will run Django built-in web server, which is suitable only for development. You will not run it in production. So Django manage py run server, and now I have a server running at my local host 8000. So I can go ahead and say localhost, and it says hello stream. So where is this coming from? So here how it routed here. I have my root URL file, which is right here, and it says, okay, if the URL starts with admin, you go to admin site URLs. This is built-in thing. If it's anything else, if the beginning of this URL matches this, then go to network.urls. So we go to network.urls here, where I say, okay, if the URL is empty, so it's basically slash, go to views.index. Views.index, we are opening this views, and here is views.index. This is this file, where I'm just creating an HTTP response h1 hello stream. So this is how routing works, and we are here at hello stream. Now let me explore admin panel. So admin, here I have my username and password. I'm typing the one that I created for super user just a couple minutes before. So it will be dmfigl, and this will be my password that I created. And here I have access to admin panel. And so those are built-in groups and users that you can create. Here in users, I should be able to see the username that I created. In network, I have my devices panel, where I can see all of my defined devices. So let's actually go ahead and create a couple of devices. You see, like those are required fields, these are not required fields, blah blah blah. So I can select here router switch firewall, I can select here Cisco SISXC. Perfect. So I told you that for this example I have two devices. One is called CSR and another one is CSR dev. So let's actually go ahead and name them the same name as the host name. So CSR dev, I have to check it IP address. I think it's this one for the management. Username, I think it's Cisco, but I may confuse it with something else. Yeah, it's Cisco. So it's Cisco device type router platform ISXE. Save and add another one. So CSR 3. I also have to check its IP address. So it's 10.48.18.26, and the username is the same, Cisco. Device type is the router, it's ISXE. Cool. So now I just save this, and this is what I have. Now those devices are not, well, it's not shown the way I would like them to show. So Django admin change representation. I think I just have to define underscore a REPL. I think Unicode for Python 3, so it's just str. I think it's still underscore REPL, but let me check this out. So I think if I go to models, I will say def underscore wrapper self str and we are returning f string where I have I can just create I can just put its name, that's all. So it will be device name is equal to self name. Okay, so I'm not sure if this will already work, or I will have to restart everything. So by the way, let me close all this stuff. Not needed. Tutorial view may need it later. This one is needed. Okay. I don't remember. Yeah, it should be underscore str. Okay, yeah, so you know what, I actually thinking I will change this. I will just have self name, return self name, and that's all. So no, why it's showing it like this? This is so ugly. Ugh. Oh, okay. Yeah, perfect. So CSR3 dev. I can click on this and just go ahead and change any parameters, and those will be updated in the database. And I go here as well. Super cool. So this is admin panel in Django. I honestly think this is super cool. Okay, let me switch the song because this song is horrible. Okay, so I have my devices. Okay, we also have our connection details, so we can actually go ahead and find, well, we can grab all the interfaces. So I'm thinking if I should go like old-fashioned way using just NetMiko, or I can just use NAPALM. I'm thinking I should use NAPALM here. Well, actually not true. First of all, I would like to have a list. I would like to see a list of I would like to get a list of devices first. So you kind of like go to /devices or something, and then you will end up seeing the list of devices, and then you can click on device and it will fetch the let's say interfaces. So this part will be done before we are going to the network device. First we will interact with the database. So this should be pretty straightforward. So okay. First we create I need a template. I need an HTML template. I also don't remember how to do it. Okay, this is default. I remember that I have to use render function, but let's try. Let's call this awesome network controller. Okay, so just for the test. Okay. H1 title, awesome network controller title. No, no, no. Okay, this part is fine. Try this in your template, replace everything. This is not what I'm looking for. No. Nope. Okay, let's just try finding this index template. Not here. Template. Not here. So let's use Django templates. First create a directory called templates in NAPALM. Okay, we did this. Templates pulse index. What? Okay, template loader get them. Okay, so here's what we need to do. Views Django template loader. We have to say index is called this. We need this thing as well. So template a loader get template pulse. Insects attacking me here. So loader get template, and let's say, excuse me guys, this insect is super annoying. but it will have some time until stream ends, and then there will be an unfortunate event for this insect. Okay, so I think I should be able to say something like this: base HTML, HTML template, and we have to have context as well. So context will be we will creating a dictionary where I'm saying title is equal to hello stream. Hello stream. Okay. Okay, good. So now I don't send HTTP response. I send well, actually it was HTTP response, but I say template render. Okay, so template render. There was a shortcut. Damn. Okay, so I didn't need this thing. I didn't need this as well. So render request base HTML context. Okay. So title hello stream. Let's also have my name for some reason. Dmitry. And then we'll change the template a little bit. To be this is name. Okay. Dot. Okay. Let's go ahead to our app. Okay. Hello stream. This is Dmitry. So we took our variables passed using context and we placed them in the template. Title name. Super easy. Okay, good. So now the next thing would be I would like to display devices. I think I can display them directly on the index page. I don't see any reason why I shouldn't display them here. Like here would be just a list of our devices. Again, I will refer to the tutorial because I always forget all of this stuff. Okay, I think I need questions, objects, order by, kind of, not exactly. So use from .models import device. So index, we have our devices will be devices, objects, I think it's all, but I don't remember if it's a function or not. Django devices all. No, Django objects all. Okay, it was a function. Okay, block objects all. It will be a query set. Okay, good. So devices objects all. Interesting. Why it says to me that unresolved attribute? It's not true. Okay, so I need to do this. Devices objects all, and here we have devices and I will just pass this object devices. We have to modify our base template a little bit, so we will need to have a list. I always forget this, so I will try doing this first. Okay, let's try. Okay, devices, first element, second element. Okay, good. So here we can change this a little bit. We can say for device in devices, here will be and for and here we'll say device name is equal to device.name, and in brackets, let's say we'll have device.host Lee. Okay, so let's, okay, here we go. So here I have my devices, csr dev, csr3. So now I would like, I think, to do those as the I'm thinking how I should do this. Because I would like to convert those devices to URL. I would put it in the table just to organize better. Yeah, we can do this, why not? But again, I don't remember HTML very well. HTML tables, defining a table. Okay, so you'll have, let's say, this will be h2, right? So h2, this will be table. Nope. Okay, this will be table, whatever. tr is trth. Okay, good. So this will be well, we can have like ID, name, and host. Okay. Yeah. So then I will need for every device I need to create tr. Then here will be device.id. Here will be device.name, and here will be device.host. Okay, so I don't need this part. And I can close this N4 here, and H2 as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and check this. Oops. Yeah, something like this. You know what? I'm going to just add Bootstrap. It will make a little bit more beautiful it. So Bootstrap, it's kind of like CSS framework. That optimizes it. Well, it makes it easier to make things beautiful. So stuff like Bootstrap is actually designed for people like me who have zero sense of taste and can't even mix colors properly. Okay, so I need to do this link. This will be in the head, CSS, and I think I also need to put everything in container. Starter template, h1, hello world, script, no, box sizing, containers. Okay, so let's do div. Let's put everything in the container. So div class container. Yeah, I'm horrible with actual design and make things beautiful on the web page. So with Bootstrap, it actually makes it already something. So at least one thing that I definitely have to do is define this table bigger. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because it's so boring, and okay, this at least I can work with this. It's not super beautiful, but if you guys really want to make it beautiful, please go ahead. I will post this code later. You can just go ahead to like Bootstrap or some other CSS framework and just make it beautiful. But whenever I do this, it usually makes me a little angry, so stream is not the best place to become angry. Okay, so I have CSR minus dev, CSR3. I have here my IP address, and what I also would like to have is convert this to a link. This part, I don't remember exactly how. Whatever, let's just try doing it. So this will be href, and I think it will be /device /device ID, and I think I will put href on the name. So here and then a, so href device ID. Okay, let's okay, so now I have links here. They link, you see on the bottom, they lead to device /1, device /2. Perfect. So now I have to create a view for those devices. So let's say, I can just say device. And let's think this through. What we will need to have. We will need to have another table where I have basically a couple of columns. I have interface name, I have current status, and maybe, well, later we will add the button. So I don't need even ID. I really need interface name and its operational status. Name and operational status and description, right, to make things beautiful. So yeah, let's list this somewhere. No, this is not it. let me see. What was the link here? Templates, refer URLs. Interesting. Let's try this. Let's see. I have no idea what it will result in. Okay, so, I broke something. Network views has no attribute get devices. Right. Reverse for device is not found. Device is not a valid function. Yeah. So okay. Django URL. Okay. Okay, so views, device, pass, and I think I need to accept another argument. Damn it. Nope. Here, device ID. And I think I will get device ID. Device ID. And let's just print device ID. Or let's do this. Let's return response, which will be just device ID. So okay, reverse device not found. Device is not a valid function or pattern name. I think I need to put device.id there. Device ID. Nope. Reverse for device is not found. Device is not a valid view function or pattern name. Okay. Oh, I need to name the view, right? Use device name device. Okay, look. Okay, so this works, and look on the URL. I have this. Well, almost. For some reason, I have a slash at the very beginning. I think this one will fix it. Yeah, so now I have /device/1/device/2, and if I click on it, I just return device ID. Perfect. So this works. Thank you very much for a suggestion. It's probably device ID for the prom. Yeah, it's like a helper thing. Yeah, thank you. I always forget all of these small things, and yeah, right now I tend to use just Django REST Framework, so all of my stuff is just API. So I don't do this kind of stuff a lot. So okay, we still have around like 15 up to 20 minutes. I'm thinking we should at least go ahead and use NAPALM to do what we are supposed to do. Okay, so I have to find what I have to find. So NAPALM, Python and docs. I also don't use NAPALM a lot now. I am all for Nornir, but it's overkill for Nornir in this project. Okay, so I need a get network driver. This part is clear. Tutorials. Let's very quickly go through tutorial. No. Vagrant. No. Programming samples. Main driver. Device open. Device close. Okay, good. Compare config, commit config, discard config. Nope, nope, not this. Get network driver, get fact. I think we can just do get facts. Oh, let's see. So in get facts, we will be able to see the OS version, uptime, interface list. No, interface list is not exactly what I would like to have. I need interface status, and I need the description. So I need description, interface name, description, and if it's shut down or not. So I have to figure out if it has what I need. So okay, NAPALM base CLI. No, it's not. Should not be in CLI. Docs NAPALM base test getters. Nope, NAPALM E. Okay. Let's go ahead and try going back to repo and iOS. Okay, let's see what functions are available. So okay, init, open, discover, send command, load candidate wrapper, replace candidate, merge candidate. Okay, LDP neighbors, parse uptime, get facts. Get facts. Interface list. Okay, those are just interface names. Get interfaces. Okay, this is what I need. Get interfaces, perfect. Okay, so this should be pretty straightforward. There is one thing that I have to double check, is that if I have NAPALM installed. So let's do Python import NAPALM. Okay, no module. Okay, so I have to add this to my requirements txt NAPALM. So I need to say pip install -r requirements def. Here, pip install -r requirements def. Okay. Network stream, Django. Okay. I'm back here. So if I say Python, I should be able to say NAPALM, which I can. Superb. Okay, so yeah, that looks good. So let's get this thing here, this example. I will just copy paste it. We will go to our project, use device, and here we have to change this a little bit. So third-party library is here. Okay, driver iOS. Oh, actually you need to do this. So device objects get. I have to check this. I don't remember. So Django objects. Okay, options get pk. Okay, yeah. So this should work just fine. So I have my device. Now I say, well, I do need to have a mapping. So let's say my model here is, I have platform. I have to map it to NAPALM. So let's say NAPALM mapping. And this will be a dictionary where I say Cisco iOS maps to iOS. Cisco SXC maps to iOS as well. So driver, this will be NAPALM mapping and device dot platform. Okay, so now I say with driver with driver, and now I have to say device.host, device.username, and device.password as connection, and I have to say, well, interfaces will be it's connection, device connection get interfaces. Okay, and now I have to, let's just print this, print interfaces. I don't need this. For now we will return this one. Put it on the model as method self OS. Yeah, actually I think it's no, you know what, I don't know. Well, I think we can do it though. So Django model computed property. How to add calculated field in Django? Do they use property or no? I don't. Oh, okay. They use property. Okay, so property def name. Okay, good. So yeah, we can do this. So this will go to our model. This will be property def NAPALM driver. This will be here. Self str return. Good, was good. So now I can say here in my views instead of doing this mapping, I can just say device and compute this property. Yeah, and I think let's do get device stats. Yeah, we have to change it in URL. Get device stats. Use objects device ID. Okay, this looks good to me. Okay, so let's rerun our Python manage py run server. Okay, I'm not sure if I need migration. I don't think I need migration for this, but yeah, let's just go ahead and do this and let's see. So okay, so here is what I'm talking about. You see, I clicked on the link, but for user it seems like nothing is happening, right? For like 5 seconds. So this is not extremely great user experience, but it works. You can actually see here we have our devices, blah blah blah. Sorry, we have our interfaces in the dictionary. I'm going to copy paste this and put this into the Scratch file. So gigabit Ethernet 1 is enabled, true is up, true. Description. And none of this have description. Actually not sure if those are there or not. No, those don't have descriptions. So let's add some. So let's say on gigabit 3, description connected. vSwitch trunk. So I need is enabled, is up, and description. MAC address I don't need. I would also would like to have an IP addresses, but I don't think we really have time for it today. I think at least these parameters will be fine to display them into the table. Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So I think we will need to create a new base template. Ideally, we would like to separate those in different subsections and stuff, but I am lazy, so I'm just going to copy paste the whole template. So awesome network controller. This is fine. We will need to say that device name and device host Okay, we will need a table. Okay, I'm not sure why it hides like this. Okay, so yeah, let's device. We'll do this interfaces. Okay, so we'll have interface name, description, enabled, and up, like this. Okay, so HTML checkbox in table. Okay, so yeah, let's go ahead and do stuff here. This will be well, I will not be able to say this returns only true or false. Where is my Scratch file? This returns only true or false, so I can't really do all of those, like if it's admit down or if it's not admit down. So I don't want to put it link status because it right now information that we get is true or false really. So input time checkbox, name vehicle, value car, type checked. Yeah. Yeah, this is what I wanted to do. So okay. Oh no. No. What am I doing here? No. Okay. We are back. Because we need to do changes here. Okay, so interface name, description enabled, and up. Okay, so here we'll say for interface in interfaces. And let's see. So damn it, this is not beautiful. Well, no, I think we can make it work. So no, it's okay. So yeah, device. So this will be items. So for interface name, interface info. Well, I can just say interface. I need 4 fields. This checkbox will be on the last 2. And here I will need if statement. Okay, so this will be interface name. This will be interface description. This one is going to be, well, I need to have here my if statement. If interface is enabled, it's so ugly. Check. Yeah, checked, I think. Let me double check. HTML checkbox checked. Okay, car checked. Okay, good. Okay, so, well, I can name it, but you know what? I don't need to name it. This name doesn't do us any good. At least for now. So let's go ahead and copy paste this part. Okay, so if interface is up, okay, for awesome network controller, device name, device host, interfaces. For interfaces, interface items, interface underscore name, interface description, and 2 checkboxes. This looks good to me. Yeah. Okay, good. So, yeah, this seems to be fine. And if yeah, I don't want to do forms right now. Okay, so yeah, this looks good to me. We need to modify our view function here a little bit. We need to provide our context. So context will be devices. No, it will be device is equal to device, and we will need interfaces. Interfaces is equal to interfaces. Okay. Okay, device interfaces interface. Now, okay, now we have to render almost the same thing like here, except this will be device HTML, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, let's go ahead and give it a go. Okay. Okay, let's do this, and let's click on the CSR def. We are waiting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's more than 10 seconds. Okay, and of course I didn't make it work correctly. Okay, something is not working here. Yeah, I see, of course, because it should be interfaces. Okay. No, iter items was in Python 2. In Python 3 you can just do items. Okay, so let's go ahead and reload this as well. Okay. So no, what did I do? Could not parse remainder from interfaces. Could not pass the remainder. What? What does it mean? Couldn't pass a remainder. Django remove parentheses, just items. Really? I didn't know. Let me. If you need to loop over list of list, if you need to access it. Okay, yeah. Thank you. These subtle differences. Okay, I will just refresh this page. Okay. Isn't this great? I am happy now. And there are checkboxes like this. I also think I should make them inactive so you can, well, right now I can click on them, but this is not what I want. Nice. So yeah, just basically show interface description and show something else. Let's do it for another device as well. So CSR3. Okay, here I have another CSR, and I have this statistic set by netconf again. Okay, good. So we are almost out of time. It's a little bit more than 3 hours, but we usually keep going until like 3:15 or something. So I think it should be easy. I mean, in the easiest reincarnation of this, what I want to do should be not hard. So I want to, well, ideally, let me go back to CSR dev. Ideally, I would like to like click on checkbox or something, or click on a button and then it should do its thing. But ideally, always JavaScript and REST. But I don't have this right now, so I'm thinking of having a button here as the last column. You are having a button which you click and it just shut down the interface, or well, it basically will be like switch, like switch on off or something like this, so you click on it, it returns back to the same page, but then the checkbox, it should be like off or on. So I think this part should not be hard, but then it should be, I guess it should be this form. Pretty much sure it should be this form. I don't know, it may take more than 15 minutes, but so button, you can make a new route, and the button you click on the page goes like device 1 toggle port. Yeah, I guess I could. Yeah, this seems like a good idea. That said, it still should be post, ideally. And yeah, well, we also need interface name to be able to do this, right? So ideally, well, yeah, I mean, if we doing post, HTML invisible form data. Okay, input type hidden. I will need something like this. Yeah, I mean, I could do get, but I don't want to do get. I mean, it doesn't feel right to do get because I am actually changing something on the device. So I feel like submitting form is a proper way to go. What did I do? What did I do? So I'm thinking something like here, where you have, so you have form, and I think I will need to form action ID. I also need ID. So ID of this form will be interface name. And then I have, at the very end, I have a button. And this button is button type submit. And this is also interface name. Okay. Plus I need form action method get. Okay, so action, this is going to be action. We are going to, well, I think we can submit the same URL. So this should be the same thing. Device ID method post. And then this is ID of the form, and here we will have input type hidden value yeah, so we need to have interface name again, and value should be interface name. Okay, and so type hidden now, and now we have basically I need to say value not interface is enabled, I guess, something like this. So two fields, interface name and not in, and this will be interface yeah, something like this. So I have hidden form, those two are hidden, and I have button submit, which is just submitting the form with the name of the interface name. Yes, sounds correct. I have to do request method Django request get versus post. I think it's request. Nope, not here. Yeah, if request method is equal to post or get. Okay, so let's go ahead back to our views, and let's say so all of this stuff will be if request method is equal to get. This is what we are doing. Elif request method is equal to post, and for now I will just print the I think it's something like data or params post get. Okay, post get. Okay, so yeah, let's just go ahead and print these two. Okay, so interface name will be equal to request.post get interface name. I think. Okay. And enable. This will be request. I think I called it what, enabled. I can just say enable, actually. Enable. And here should be enable. Okay, so yeah, this looks good to me. Let's go ahead and rerun this for our first device. Device is enabled. Yeah. What is going on here? Couldn't pass the reminder. There is something that... Okay, we will try, but... What is wrong with this button? Yeah, I think I need to provide some text here. Just switch. Switch. Okay, and we are going also to do the following. I'll click on network here, persist log, and I will try to click on this. Reason given for failure: CRF token missing or incorrect. Okay. I also forgot about CRF token. Okay. Okay. Wow, this button is ugly. Okay, so if I switch now, well, it didn't work, but it's fine. Turn on instead. Okay, yeah, so interface name and enable was sent. Okay, so there is one thing that bothers me. What if I do Python 3 bool from false? Yeah, this is what I had some fear. Is this is a string, we have to convert it to bool now. Okay, that's fine, that shouldn't be a problem. So I'm thinking, I forgot if we can do, well, NAPALM configure actually requires us to have a CP enabled. I don't really want to do that. I would just do NetMiko push. So let's do NetMiko example, and in our code let's go ahead and do what we are supposed to do. Okay, so we can get this interface name is equal to this, and enable interface is equal to this. Okay. Okay. So now I don't want to create another Jinja template that it wouldn't, it's so small, so I don't want to do that, but we can do, I think, this interface status change template will be interface name, and then I forget if okay. So and then we will say no, I will just build it on the fly. Doesn't make a lot of sense. So let's do config lines is equal to nothing, and then config lines append, well, I can append it directly here. So here we'll append interface name. Now if enable interface is equal to false, then config line append well space shutdown, right? Else no shutdown. Okay, those are our config lines. We have to import from NetMiko, import connect handler, and I have to check if my NetMiko is working. Import NetMiko. Not here. To do it here. So Python import NetMiko. Okay, it's working. I have to look up NetMiko example now. NetMiko example should be pretty straightforward. So device type blah blah blah. Okay, so we have to form connection params. Okay, connection params is equal to device type will be device.platform. Device no IP is equal to, wait, hold on, where is my device though? Oh, it should be in URL, right? So I actually will need to get the device again. Okay, so device dot host and here will be username, device dot username, and here will be password. This will be device password. Okay, I have my all connection params. Now I can say device connection is equal to, well, no, this connect handler con params as device connection. Here I have to say send config set. So device con send config set, and this will be config lines. Okay. Or let's actually say that this will be config commands. Config commands. Okay. Once we are done with this, oops, what is going on? Okay, good. So once we are done with this, we are actually returning Django post return get from post. Well, or we can just redirect, right? So we can say, what is it, HTTP redirect, HTTP response redirect, Django redirect, Django shortcut functions. Okay, so redirect to permanent false. Okay, yeah, so we can say a return redirect, and we will be going to the same URL. Model view name I will just hardcode URL. Probably it can be done different way, but I'm a little bit beat right now, so I'll just do it like this. Okay, so basically what we are doing is that we are extracting parameters, forming configuration commands, connecting via NAPALM, sending configs, and then redirecting to the same page to see everything, our table again. Okay, I think this is good. So now let's go ahead and verify that if this works. So let's just go to main page again. Yeah, I have to run my server. Okay. So let's run my server. My devices, I click on CSR dev. Okay, here are my interfaces. I don't want to kill my management, but I would like to, let's say, kill my interface 3. And now it says unsupported device type. Currently supported platforms are. What is going on here? I put it correctly. A connection params, username, device type, device.platform. What is going on here? Okay, so this is an error from, well, it's connect handler. This could SXE doesn't work in NAPALM. Yes, you are correct. Thank you. I almost forgot about this. So let's do NAPALM mapping. Cisco IS will be Cisco IS, and Cisco SXE will be Cisco IS. Okay, so and we will say the same thing. NAPALM device type, and this will be NAPALM mapping self-platform. Okay, good. So we have to change in our view that we are saying we need to have NAPALM device type. Okay, let's go back to this page, refresh it. Okay, so we are having this page, we're clicking here, post is going on right now. Something is happening. No. Why? Oh, it just worked. Nice. Okay, so it actually worked just fine. Let's do the same with the loopback. Let's switch this loopback. Okay. It's actually a little bit bothers me that it kind of gets like a cached page for a moment. And here we go. So our loopback, so previously our gigabit 3 was enabled and loopback was disabled. So let's go to device and check, right? So show the interface brief, and we have our loopback up and gigabit 3 is down now. Perfect. Nice. Okay, so yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with this result. So we are streaming for what is now 3 hours 25 minutes. So yeah, it's a good point to wrap up. So let me know, guys, if you have any questions while I will be doing wrap up for today. So today we started building a web app with Python web framework called Django. As I explained before, we went through the path of the least resistance, and we built a web app like it was built around like 10 to 15 years ago, not using API but just using server-side rendering of the template. There are still so many improvements that this app could use, but I think the main thing here is that we actually got it working, right? So what this app is doing, this app on the main page, it displays our devices from the databases. Database also stores device name, IP address, username and password. So the information like this. Once you click on any device, it displays a table like this, like what we see right now, where we see all of the interfaces on the device, their description, and if it's enabled and if it's in up or down state. We are doing that using NAPALM get interfaces. There is also this button switch, which allows us to basically flip the interface status. Once we click on it, we are sending a post to the server using NetMiko send command set. We are changing the interface status, and then we are redirecting back to the same page, and we are updating basically the page details. So this is what this app is doing. So as I told you before, there are so many improvements. So one would be to introduce queue like Celery, so everything is done in the background. Second, to switch to client-side rendering, where client-side is pulling an API call. The task is submitted, task ID is retrieved back, and then that client side is actually polling the server, asking about status of the task, and the page will be like automatically updated. Yeah, there are a couple of comments. What about ENMS project? Isn't it more or less the same? I guess so. I haven't used the ENMS, even though it's on my radar. It was actually, for now, I think this will be the topic of the next week stream. ENMS. But this may change. Yes. Another person in the chat is correct. It's not like I'm trying here to solve any kind of problem that was not solved. Like stuff like this, is solved for quite a while. And yeah, like most likely a lot of systems can do this. The point here is that we build it ourselves, and using the same kind of approach, you can build it and adjust it to your exact needs, right? So examples that I was describing before, let's say you're provisioning the user or something like this, which involves, I don't know, VLAN on access switch, some firewall rules and stuff like that. So you can build all of this logic yourself, deploy it as a web app, and give users very simple interface. You can even add authentication from LDAP if you want to, where you just fill in super simple form, you click submit, and all the changes done on the backend in the networking devices. So stuff like this, right? There are so many use cases like, I don't know, provisioning L3 VPN, provisioning DMVPN, anything you really like, right? Since it's very flexible, what we are doing, we are just using libraries like NAPALM and NetMiko to interact with networking devices. What exactly you are doing doesn't really matter. So the whole thing today, an actual write from like moment I started writing it to this moment, I think it took around 2 hours or so, maybe 2 hours and a half. All other time I was just talking about explaining how web works before, how web worked before, how web works now. So yeah, like 2.5 hours, and you have very simple app that is allowing you to interact with network devices. So yeah, at some streams, upcoming streams, we are going to explore more of these, to move to JavaScript. Maybe at that point I will already be much more confident with like Vue JS, for example. Okay, so the last thing I would like to remind that the next stream will be on Saturday, next Saturday, not Sunday as usual, since I will be leaving for a week for travel. So with that, thank you very much everyone for joining me today. I wish you an easy working week and see you in 1 week. Thank you everyone. Bye.